Hey guys, today I want to talk about taking turns in Tekken. I highly recommend you to learn how frame data works in Tekken, because it's very important for your whole career and especially important for this video. And for all those who are already experts at frame data, I will explain you something that might help you out a lot if you're in low ranks or stacking green ranks. So, usually Tekken is played somewhat in turns. This is nothing that is set in stone or something, it's just a general rule of thumb. If you're a plus on block, if you have plus frames, it's your turn to play, and your opponent should respect it. And on the other hand, if your opponent is plus on block and you're a minus on block, it's your turn to respect your opponent's turn. You can steal turns. By stealing we mean you can try to evade something with a high crush move or a low crush, or step it, or armor through it, or parry it. So these are tools you can use to steal turns. But in general, when you're minus on block, you should respect your opponent's turn. I have recorded a couple of scenarios and I will discuss them immediately, but first, why am I doing this video? Because a lot of the time I see low rank players play like this. So they eat a minus on block move. This is safe, it's not punishable. You see, it's safe. But it is a minus on block. And what do? Random shit. Stuff like this or this. Most of those moves, like failed punishes, 12 frame punishes for moves that are safe on block. Random strings like this that are even launch punishable. And they do them, and either they do nothing, or your opponent will duck or punish them, according on which moves you just randomly press. I have a video especially for Mishima players. Its name is Don't Spam Electric Wind Godfist, because Mishima players like to do this a lot. They see something and then electric for no reason. Why shouldn't you just press random buttons? Very easy. You lose your turn. You could have done something way more productive, like dealing damage or creating a situation in which you have even more opportunities to deal damage. First, I want to show you what you can do against opponent who don't know that it's not their turn, and how to condition them to respect your turn, okay? So in this scenario, I will record this move, which is minus on block, which means it's your turn after this move, and your opponent doesn't know it or doesn't respect your turn. So first things first. What is he doing in this scenario? Okay, so in this scenario, he does his minus on block move, and then he tries to crush you with a high crush, because he expects you to do a jab out of reflex. So this will work out like this if you don't know what to do. You get counter hit because this is a high crush move and he expects you to press. This situation can be applied in many scenarios with evasive moves, with low crushes. Basically the idea your opponent has is he does something that is minus on block, and either his move is so little on minus on block, like only -2, that he can do a quick move that can only be interrupted by jab, in which case you should jab, because slow mids would not hit him, but a quick mid like a down forward 1, anything that is -3 will be beaten by a down forward 1 if your opponent presses a random shit that is not faster than 10 frames. And the other thing, he wanted to jab so he can high crush you, like this here. So how do you deal with somebody who uses such tactics? Very easily. So your opponent does a minus on block move, and if it's at least -3, it means that your 13th frame mid is as fast as his jab, so no matter what he will do, you will at least trade. And if you know your opponent likes to steal turns or don't respect your turns, try to condition him with moves like this. Anything that is -3 or worse will get stumped by this if you press his buttons afterwards. try to use a safe mid with a low hitbox, because there are characters like Xiaoyu who have very evasive stances and they might go under certain stuff. It really depends on the character, but the general consensus and idea you should have is he presses buttons, I need something that is uncrushable to stop him from doing shit. If he is really minus, I mean -5 or even more of, or if he likes to use very slow moves, like in this example he uses a low and lows are generally very slow, you can try to do a counter hit launcher. Why did it hit? Very easy explained. This here is very minus and this here is very slow. And this is a 15 frame mid, so it beats his move because I'm just way faster than him. So after you've done this a couple of times and your opponent understands, okay, I can't just do random shit, he will stop pressing buttons. But what if he does something that is faster? It's like a flowchart where it is basically frame tight. Usually those are either unsafe on block and you can punish them, or you can step them. For example, if he does something like this and it's minus, you can either steal his turn because it is minus on block with a quick mid, or if you know he likes to do highs, you duck. If you know he likes to do very linear stuff all the time, you simply step him. So, this is the first scenario. He uses minus on block moves and then presses button. And depending on what buttons he presses, you either condition him to not press buttons or use his buttons against him to get free counter hit launches. Or if it's something that is very hard to counter it, maybe he has a very specific flowchart and for example, he is Yoshimitsu, you can try to bait it out or step it. But in general, if he does minus on block things and then presses buttons, do a fast mid, and most of the flowcharts will get hit out of. So now we've conditioned him to not press buttons. We now have this guy here. He did a unsafe move, I mean a minus on block move, and he knows, okay, this is it, I cannot press buttons, it's his turn here. This guy has the turn. How do you spend your turn? Don't do this, I mean, don't do stuff like this, random shit. Don't do 12 frame punishes or whatever punishes you want. Because, you know what, this is minus on block, but it is not punishable. You should react to every situation accordingly. And to somebody who is minus on block, but not punishable, you don't use punishes. What should you do instead? Two things. Either deal damage immediately, or use moves that help you deal damage later on and like help you in the whole round, give you a better position. Let's talk about dealing damage immediately. So he did a move, and I can now do a low because he doesn't press buttons. He just stands there because he understands I don't attack you. Do a low. Do a throw. Mix him up with throws. If he starts ducking, maybe you did a couple of lows, he's now suspicious, he either presses buttons or starts ducking, but if he starts ducking, apply mid. So, this is in a situation where you want to deal damage as soon as possible. And depending on characters, you have many great options. I mean, I play Devil Jin. Devil Jin has a 50-50. If your opponent hesitates, you can hell sweep him. But it really depends on the character. But the general idea should be, he doesn't press buttons. You can do basically anything because you can trust that he doesn't do shit. And what does it mean that you can do basically anything? Well, it's easy explained. It means you can do plus on block moves. So, your opponent doesn't press buttons here. So you can do plus on block moves. Why is that so good? For two reasons. First, maybe he did something that is very minor on block, like something like -3 and he still respects your turn, and you can use For example, Dragunov back 1+2 is +6 on block. You get even more plus frame. Then, following that, you push your opponent to this side. So even if it doesn't connect, you still moved your opponent to his wall. And the third thing, you're in plus frames and you did a move that has two effects. First, you have opportunities for taking your turn again or laying frame traps. Or maybe mixing him up if he doesn't want to attack. And your opponent starts getting frustrated. It sounds silly, but the more moves you make, the more he is inclined to press button. It doesn't work as well with Devil Jin, but I will show you with Dragunov. It's very easy to explain. So your opponent doesn't press buttons. Do a back 1+2. He still doesn't press buttons because he's not stupid. Okay, he did a back 1+2. This is plus on block. Do it immediately afterwards a second one. So now you did 2 back 1+2s. The first one wasn't challenged because it was your turn, and the second one wasn't challenged because the first one is plus on block. But your opponent will now stand there after blocking 2 of them and he will think, shit, okay, I need to do something. He can't just stand in front of me and do plus on block moves over and over again. And this is the mind game. You need to get a feel for when your opponent is likely to start getting nervous and pressing buttons, and then lay a frame trap. And this is how you take turns. Very simple. If it's your turn, you either deal damage immediately, or you create a situation that is beneficial to you for dealing damage later on. Like carry him to the wall, make him nervous, and get even more damage out of it. So when people are wasting their turns, first thing, condition them to respect your turns if they're not already respecting your turns. And when they stop pressing buttons after minus on block moves, use your fucking turns as best as you can. Deal as much damage as you can. Don't waste it doing strings that don't deal damage, that are unsafe on block, that are just bad. Create a situation in which your opponent has to play mind games to escape your offense. Because it's your turn and you should extend your turn for as long as you can. Because having your turn means you are the one who can decide how to deal damage and not your opponent. This is Tekken in its purest form. This is a very basic concept, but I think a lot of people don't understand it because I'm sure people will talk about it, but I've never seen like videos talking about this concept, and I think it's a very overlooked concept and very basic, and it will help a lot of people, I think. So I hope it helps you. If you have any questions, just write me. I'm online most of the week, and yeah, should help you. Try to not play on autopilot and do stupid shit when it's your turn. Use your turn immediately as best as possible. I'd say, like, my gut feeling, like half of the people stuck in green ranks, if they knew how to use their turns, they would be yellow rank in 2 hours. It's not about knowing all the matchups or having crazy execution or whatever. It's about playing basicest and easiest Tekken you can that lets you win. It's all about the basics, and this is what they call fundamentals, knowing stuff like this. I hope I could help you and have fun practicing. See you later.